How much can you change before it's too late? Be more than human. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today we are going to talk about changing the words of authors. Now, a lot of things have been going around, especially with like Dr. Seuss and and a few other books, where they are actively changing or wanting to change the language used within the books to make them more palatable for a modern audience. And if you've watched some of my stuff, you may hear it from time to time. But I don't really want to see censoring of anything. I unless the book is in a school library and that specific school library has rules against profanity or erotica or whatever. But like in a public library or for books that you buy online, I am not in favor of any type of censorship. But the real question here I want to pose to you as the watcher, the reader, and comment down below. I want to see, want to get more opinions about this. But there's a thought experiment, and it's called the Ship of Theseus. And I may butcher this a little bit, but I'll get the gist across to you. The Ship of Theseus says that Theseus builds a ship. And over hundreds of years, like what happens to ships, boards break and you have to replace them. Well, if you replace them, and in the case of the Ship of Theseus, it's actually not as bad as what is happening with books, but you over hundreds of years, you take the same board, the same exact board, replace it, same bolt, replace it, same nut, replace it. And over hundreds of years, the ship has been completely replaced. There's not an original piece on the ship, though it looks exactly like the ship. Now, the thought experiment is that still the Ship of Theseus? The way I would look at it here, I use that analogy because you change a word. I think in in Willy Wonka, they changed the word fat to humongous, which I think is even worse. But you change that word, and then what happens 20 years from now when a new generation says, oh, we don't like this word, and then you have to change that word, and then another 20 years, and you change that word. Will that book be Willy Wonka 100 years from now, after every 10, 20 years, they go through and change any language that they don't like? Is that still that author's work? That is a question I've been asking myself and, asking others. And just thinking about it, it's especially when the author is not around to say yes, you can go ahead and change this, or no, the author has passed, so they think they can just do whatever they want with it because they own the rights. But what do you think? There's so much made here on BookTube about prose, and you'll hear often about the author's voice, right? An author wrote a new book, and I could tell that it was that author because that author has a specific voice. Well, what happens when an author becomes famous because of their voice, and it's a very good one, right? People are like, oh, I love the way that they write. I love their prose. But then you start changing their words, right? So how long until you have destroyed that author's voice, right? So I'm not going to make this a super long one. I would like to get as many of you involved. Make sure you're liked and subscribed. If you guys do like this type of content and these questions, I got a lot more of these that I could put out here. But let me know how far can you change until it's no longer that author's work. Remember, be more than human.